All right, legends, welcome. We are on the Gym Boss podcast here. As always, I'm Jimmy. I'm your host. And so for all fitness businesses, where we're talking about marketing, sales, business development, personal development. And today we've got a good guest on. But before I intro him, as always, going over to iwantgymleads.com. You can go over there. You can see some of the stuff that I do if you're interested in getting more leads, more clients, and growing your business and your brand at the same time. But that's enough about me. I've got the amazing Brian Keith on here from all the way on the other side of the world. He's over in the States, and he's actually owner of the business Optimize for Outcomes. And it's really cool. I'm going to let him tell his story, but the whole main thing that we're going to be talking about today is how to optimize your business for better outcomes. And like starting at step one, which is the thought process about what do we do, how to think about and all the pieces of the business to pull it together to optimize so you actually have a well-oiled functioning gym that's probably working for you instead of you just hustling your face off and going nowhere. So Brian, welcome, man. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously over in the States and you love your cooking. I see that on Facebook. But tell us a bit, how you got to here.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it all started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I started my career really in the corporate world, and I think like a lot of kids growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted money and trying to figure out my way. And I got married really early, and I landed needing a job and making money to support the wife. I really started a career in the corporate world because I saw that as the best way. The wife is screaming, I baby needs diapers and shopping. And it was like, okay, fine. I'll go do this corporate thing. So I started working. I learned a lot of technology on my own. I've always been curious about how do computers work. And as a kid, I wrote software just for fun, just to learn how it worked. I'd go to the library and check out a book. And so I've been a nerd my whole life, I would say, so leveraging that into a corporate career, I started working in consulting where I was helping other companies implement technology and just get more efficient in what they were doing by putting in a piece of software, by changing their business processes and using technology to automate some of the stuff happening in different parts of the business. And it's been about 20 years now working in corporate environments where that's been really the common thing that I've done is I've gone in to companies and I've said, okay, this is how you're doing this thing, whether it be onboarding new clients or we're doing our accounting or anything anywhere in a company, whatever's hurting them the most. I've gone in and said, okay, if we put this technology in, if we change this process here, now you're going to be doing that much more efficiently. So over those 20 years, I've worked for some big companies. I've worked for little companies. I've worked across all different industries. It's been about 200 to 250 different companies that I've been a consultant at. I've also worked full-time for companies like Amazon, Microsoft, some of the big technology companies here in Seattle, which is always interesting to see, how the big guys do it and how that goes. So,
how did you just to chime in there? How did you get your foot in the door with those bigger guys? Was just from over time building up, your work, over time?
Yeah, I've, playing the corporate game, it's all about education and certifications and where else you work. So I have a master's degree. I got a bachelor's degree in liberal arts, which is just your generic kind of get through college as fast as possible degree right here in the States. But then realizing I needed a little bit more than that, I went back and got a master's degree in organizational leadership. I also have certifications in project management and process improvement. So having those things with some of the experience, some deep tech experience, and I've worked as a product manager and actually built technology products. So having that background, being able to consult at Microsoft and then leverage that into a full-time role at Amazon, it's a process for sure.
Wow. And so obviously that's like the bullet points, right? That's the bullet points. And that led you to, you're doing it stuff in the corporate world, but then you transitioned into doing your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years ago, and this was, hopefully I don't get in trouble. Amazon can't fire me, right? I don't work there anymore, but, we're working at Amazon. I was managing a platform that was making about $600 million a year.
Wowza.
And over 12 months, I turned that into 900 million. And so I was like, okay, I need promotions. I need recognition. Like, I just made you guys $300 million, right? Like,
Yeah.
I expect, some things. And what I got was a pat on the back, like, good job, thanks. And so in that moment, it was like, I'm making other companies hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I only need to make 1% of that to be happy on my own. I think I can do that, right? Like, why am I making all this money for other people? Why am I not making even a fraction of it for myself? And that was really where I pivoted to say, I'm going to really start something on my own and do my own thing.
Love
So
it. And you know what? All our listeners here could 100% relate to that, because they're all owning their own business because they didn't want to go back to, been in the workforce, sick of doing it on other people's schedules, other people's rules, other people's everything. And now you're in 100% control of your own future, which I think is one of the best things about being your own boss.
absolutely. Yep.
So now, a couple of years in now, you've got your own business. Obviously, it wasn't always smooth sailing. Tell us about some of the stuff that, some of the struggles you've had to overcome in your current business. You're not obviously the stuff you did working for other people, but with your own stuff, because, it's all about client acquisition and things like that. So I'm sure it's a whole different ballgame from when you're working for somebody to now then transition into doing your own thing.
Yeah, man, where to start? There have been a lot of challenges for sure. I think one of the big ones early on was, I had worked my way up high enough in corporate environments where I was managing teams and I had lots of people, or I could, if I had an idea and something I wanted to build, I could be like, okay, team, this is what we're doing, go build it. And then I could sit back and watch and help people when they got stuck. And shifting into my own thing, now it's like, I don't have a team. I don't have a budget. I don't have resources. If I want something, either I'm going to do it or nobody's going to do it. And that was a pretty big challenge for me early on. And then just juggling, because I was working the corporate job and then trying to start my own business. And, I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got a wife, and it's like keeping everything going. And the business needs so much time and attention, especially early on, to try and build momentum and move. And that was probably, and even still, I mean, full transparency, like, it still is a challenge, just keeping it all moving with the family, with the kids.
Mm.
It's a lot of work, but we get done what we can, and there's always next week.
And I think this is a great transition into subject matter on like what you actually do, because you've obviously got all these skills, these certifications, this experience. You're 20 years in the corporate world and now doing your own thing of optimizing business. So obviously you implemented all that stuff for yourself. What's some of the things that you implemented? Like some of the things, like, we can get a bit deeper on that, but like, where did you start? So like, if someone listening to this right now is like, yes, I am exactly like that guy right now. I've got the wife, I've got the kids, I've got the everything, I'm juggling everything. Where do you start with it?
So for me, and this is, what I do and how I help other companies. But as you've mentioned, I also do practice what I preach. This isn't me just saying other people do this, but I do these things myself.
Yeah, of course.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I see when I start working with a new client is just the way that they look at their business. And this, even for me, when I started, this was one of my faults as well, because it's different, right? Working in a corporate world, working for a company like Amazon is much different than I'm a solo entrepreneur working for myself, trying to start my own business. Everything, I mean, there are a lot of similarities and there's a lot of common knowledge that you can use, but you almost have to translate it all and say, okay, this is what worked in the corporate world. this is what worked. This is what will work in the entrepreneurial world. So when I started out, I wasn't really thinking about my business right either. I was thinking about it as it's this one big thing. And when you have that mentality, it can cause some problems because everything is massive, everything is so big, everything is difficult to comprehend. You're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to make something better, and you're thinking about it as this one giant blob. It can be difficult to isolate, what do I really need to do to get more clients, or what do I really need to do to retain more members in my
Mm,
gym? And when you think about your business as a big thing, that can be challenging. And so one of the things I had to do from the beginning, and this is now when I work with folks, this is one of the things I encourage them to do right at the beginning, is you have to start thinking about your business differently. It's not one thing. It's actually a collection of smaller things. Uh, and these smaller things have purpose. They have outcomes that you want. And when you start thinking about it in the smaller pieces and then how those pieces relate, you're able to comprehend your business better and get to problems, get to inefficiencies, and get to the things that you need to get to in order to make improvements.
I love that. So
Now,
it helps you assess a lot better. Instead of saying, as you said, that one big, oh my God, I've got this issue. You're like drilling down into that one specific, I think maybe I'm probably putting words in your mouth here, but lack of a better word, like individual departments or individual facets of the business instead of just this one massive thing. You go, all right, it's that one department that we need to have a look at. Might be like sales department or whatever. Now let's drill into what's happening there.
yeah, absolutely. And I gave a lot of theoretical speech there. And if we look at like a practical example
Yeah,
that
that'd be
everybody can
great.
relate to, especially with gyms, right? And this is an analogy I use a lot. Most people seem to understand it. When you think about the human body as a thing, right? And when it starts off, it's one cell, it's one thing, but over time, it really starts to develop into this complex being. And businesses are no different. To me, the human body or a person and a business, they're identical in many ways, and their development is no different. So you think about a human body, you've got all of these different systems, right? You've got a respiratory system. That system has a purpose of bringing oxygen into your body, getting it into your blood, and getting out your CO2. You've got a digestive system that has a purpose. It's bringing food in, it's turning that food into energy. You've got a nervous system, which is your brain, right? So your body you could think of it as one thing, a human. But really, if you want to improve yourself, if you're sick and you need to go to a doctor to get better, they're going to be talking to you about, okay, let's isolate which of your systems is actually having a problem.
Mate, I
And
love that analogy. That is so perfect and so easy to like comprehend.
yeah. So it's really it's shifting your mindset about your business. Your business is not one thing. Your business is a collection of these systems that each have an individual purpose. You whether you've defined it or not, there is some desired outcome of that system. So you think about in a business setting, you've got some system to generate traffic. And in the gym world, that might be foot traffic in your gym. If you're doing some online promotions, it might be traffic to your website, but you've got a system, whether you realize it or not, for generating traffic. You've got a system to take that traffic and convert it into paying members. Again, whether you think about it that way today or not, and whether the system might be completely disorganized, it might be a total mess, but there's
Yeah,
some kind of
there's something there.
there. Yeah, right. So your business is all of these different pieces. And when you can start to think about it in these different systems, what system do I have to maintain gym membership? When you start thinking about that and you realize, hey, I'm losing more members than I want to, and you understand these are the components that I have within my system to maintain gym memberships, you can start to analyze, okay, what's failing me within this one little system, and how do I optimize it? How do I make it better? How do I get better results or better outcomes out of this one system?
That's perfect. And like is there similarities in all businesses? Like that's talking to fitness guys. What are some of the core systems that are in a business?
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, my belief is that every business is 80 to 90% the same. There's not a lot of differences between a manufacturing company and a digital Facebook agency and a gym. They're 70 to 90% the same. And so again, you think about it, you think about every company has to have a sales cycle. When I say sales cycle, that's how do I make people aware that I exist? How do I figure out of those people that are now aware of me, who's really my target, who's ready to buy, who's ready to come sign up at my gym, who's motivated to work out. You've got to filter those out somehow, right? And
Yeah.
figure out who do I really want to spend my time with in order to maximize my sales conversions, and those are the people I want to talk to, right? I don't want to talk to the person who isn't really serious about working out. They're just looking to pay money and feel better about their perceived fitness because I have a gym membership, but they're not going to get success. They're not going to be a long-term customer. Not saying that's wrong, but that might not be your target, right? So
Got it. Yeah.
every company has that of I need to identify traffic or bring traffic in. I need to qualify that traffic into good leads, and then I need to convert those leads into sales.
Yep.
So that's one example of every business has that. Doesn't matter what you are, who you are, what you're selling.
And I think I love that. So it's like, to recap, is like obviously like how do you get people to know you? Then how do you warm up that marketplace to identify the people that are your ideal clients? And then how do you actually get them to come into the gym?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. And I think that also, from my personal experience, the key is if that's your issue, that part there is now how do we improve that while still maintaining everything else, not dropping the ball elsewhere?
Yeah, and that's always a challenge, right? Is you've only got so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
and doing one thing means you're not doing other things. So part of what I typically do when I'm working with a client is we actually map out the whole business. So that's an example of how you break down some of it,
Yeah.
but we would
Cool.
break it down even further. So every business has operations, and so these are things like how do you manage knowledge within your company, within your business? How do you manage your processes and how you do things? How do you manage your technology? Any software that you've bought, maybe you have like a CRM system and you're tracking uh, your members in software and that kind of thing. So we would look at what are all of the main pieces of your business, and then we start talking about where the biggest pain points are. So once you have that kind of initial map of, okay, these are all the core systems that I have in my business, we can start looking at, one, do you have any glaring gaps? Like, are you just totally missing something? And that's something I've seen occur quite a bit, where I'll sit down and talk to somebody and they're like, well, I don't, I go out and I run ads and people come to my website and I hope they sign up. And that's it. They don't really have a process or anything in place to really try and convert those that traffic into leads or into sales. And so they're missing potentially giant pieces. So that's one thing that we do. And then the other thing is just talking about where are you spending your time? This is a big one that I find most of the clients that I work with, they don't understand where they're spending their time. And so they don't even really know where to begin. They think they have some pains, but they're not really sure if they have no data to support it. They're just, I know that I hate doing this and I want to do less of it.
So
Um,
how for somebody listening now, they're like, they think they've got it all under control, but like they're curious. Okay, how do I see where I'm spending all my time? Like, what's something that you get your clients to do?
yeah. So one of the things, the first things that I get almost everybody to do is just track your time for a week. And blocks of how you're spending your time, business and in systems. Think about identify, this is the system, this is the activity that I'm doing, this is how much time I spent on it. Do that for a week and see what you get. And if you have team members, have them do the same thing.
Oh, that's an interesting one as well, actually. Because as a business owner, you're probably like, oh, my team's got it covered. And then you realize that they're on their phone for an hour a day or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you would be surprised at how much people are surprised when you just do that exercise and people see, oh wait, we're spending 18 hours a week onboarding new members and we only get 10 members a week new. Like, why are we spending almost 2 hours to onboard somebody? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or you will immediately see you're spending time in places where you shouldn't, or where you're spending more time than you should, just by tracking. And I would encourage, one, don't guess what you did last week. Do it fresh and do it real time, because I've seen people do that, and a lot of times they use their biases and their assumptions that are incorrect to say, oh, I didn't. I'm efficient here, so I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. But when they track it in real time, the number is 2 times bigger, 3 times bigger. It's much different than what they expected. So track in real time. Don't guess at what you did last week.
I like that. And so something that just, people like, how do I track it? Like for me, I'm guessing I'll just have it like a diary that's got like the time from 6 a.m. to whatever. And you just in half-hour increments or whatever, note in as the day goes what you're doing.
Absolutely. Keep it very simple. I mean, this is another thing where I see people get carried away a lot of times. They make some complex spreadsheet thing with formulas and all craziness. Like, just keep it really simple. For me, when I do it, it's an Excel spreadsheet, or a Google Doc spreadsheet, a Google sheet. And it's just like 4 or 5 columns. Fill those out every 15 or 30 minutes, however often makes sense. And that's it. And then at the end of the week, you can analyze that, and see collectively how many hours. And it's even more powerful when you have a team, right? Because then you can see across your whole team, how are they spending their time, and you can start to see where you're spending more time than you want to.
That's interesting because you said the word earlier, but I think all of this, what this comes down to is data or data.
Absolutely. A lot about business, to me, is finding balance, and there's definitely a balance with your data. Like, you don't want to go crazy, and you don't need like hundreds of data points and all kinds of charts and graphs and spreadsheets, but you want at least a little bit of data so that you can understand how your systems are working. You go back to the human body, right? Like, if your heart isn't working, what's the doctor going to do? They're going to put you on an EKG machine, and they're going to take some data, right? How is his heart rate? Is it fluctuating? Is it crazy? They're gonna get a couple of baseline metrics to understand how that system is working. It's no different from your business. You get a couple of baseline metrics so you understand how that system is working. Then you make an improvement or two, and then you retest that data and see, did it get better? Did it get worse? Did it stay the same? And that helps to inform you, what are you doing that's working? What are you doing that's not working? And are the changes that you're actually doing the right changes to impact your business?
I love every single bit of that, because the reason being is that's exactly what we all do with our fitness clients.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you come to us, you want to lose, 40, 50 pounds. Okay, let's take your initial measurements. We got to get some sort of baseline. Where are we starting? Okay, most people go, give me a food journal for the last 3 days. Like, just show me what it's like. So then we can get like, this is the food, it's your body stats. What exercise level are you doing? Where's your injury status at? Cool. Okay, now let's prescribe something, and then let's go for a week, a month, or whatever. And then we'll come back and we'll revisit all these data points here and make adjustments. I love that. That's perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. That was like a nice little penny drop moment for myself right there. That's cool. And so we've covered a whole bunch of good stuff so far. So it's basically where you're spending your time. But before that was understanding that there's not just a business. There are core different systems within this thing that you call your gym or your boot camp or your fitness business, right? And then it's a matter of like not getting bananas on it, but like having a couple of key base points of metrics, because then that helps you, like once you start measuring stuff, it makes you aware of where, like awareness is the first piece, I think, is what you're trying to say here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just awareness. I mean, the fitness analogy is another great one, right? I mean, if somebody came in and just they walk into the gym and they just go throw some weights on a bar and do a couple of squats, and then they go over to a machine and do a little bit of bench press, and then they walk out, what kind of results are you going to expect from that after a month? Not much, right? I mean, no tracking, no understanding, just go do some stuff and walk out, and maybe I'll do it tomorrow. You're not going to get any good results out of that. And it's the same with your business.
Yeah, I love it. And so, what else do we need to know when we're in this? Because a lot of this is like about just getting the setup in the mind right around how all this works. What else do we need to know about this?
So I think another important component to this that I really try and drive home with folks is thinking about the relationship between. So when you're thinking about your system, and we can just pick one, right? So say it's onboarding new gym members. So you have a system for, hey, it's their first day. I give them a tour. I show them where the lockers are. I show them, how the showers work because the knobs are funny or whatever. Like you've got some type of system and process for how you bring somebody into your gym and how you show them around and get them grounded. So if we use that as an example, when you think about that, there's a couple of different pieces there. You have inputs to that system. You have a process for that system. You have outputs from that system, and those outputs create your outcomes. Okay. So let me try and break that down in a way that doesn't make people's heads spin. So you
Yeah, I
think
was going to
about,
say, so keeping that same example of onboarding a new gym client, let's do that.
yeah, absolutely. So you think about your onboarding a new gym client. You've got some inputs into that system. You've got the client themselves. You might have maybe you've got like a little manual that you give them that's like, here's the gym rules and the hours and the where to find this and that, what all is included. You might have some policies, right? Like no running naked through the gym. You got to wear shorts when you lift, wipe off your machines when you're done. So you've got this set of inputs that go into that system. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then you've got a process. So how do you get that document to them? Maybe you email it to them. Maybe you hand them a paper booklet. You have a process on how you walk them around the gym. I go show them where the lockers are first, and then I show them where the showers are, and then I show them the gym floor, and then I show them where the track is for running, right? So you have kind of this process of how you go through and show them and do all of the things specific to onboarding. Then you're going to have, does that make sense
Yeah,
before we move on?
100%. So to go,
So that's the
first of all,
process
we've got
piece.
input, which is like, you said the client, maybe like the welcome pack that you've got, that you give them, like a swag pack with like, info that they need. But then also is the process is like, how do they get the stuff? How do I kind of like the process is kind of like, I think, to use a different word, like a checklist. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, got it.
Yeah. So you've got inputs, you've got the process, then you've got outputs. The outputs are what come out of the end of the process. Hopefully, if you did it right, you've got an educated client who knows what your expectations of them are and how they should behave in the gym. You have some potential emotion there. They might be super excited because they've seen all these great things. If your onboarding process isn't good, they might be unexcited. They might not be really motivated. They might be like, why did I join this gym? And so you've got something that comes out, at least one thing that comes out of every one of these systems.
I love that.
As
And now
output.
just me hearing that, would you start with the outcome or the output first and then build the system? build the
Well,
input and the process.
so you actually take it one step further and start with the outcome. So what outcome? Define your outcomes first. What are you trying to get out of this system? And when you're defining your outcome, it's not really it's not really a thing. It's not a noun. The outcome is really why. Answering the question, why do I want this thing? So you think about onboarding a new client. Why do you want that? From an output perspective, you want a client that's super educated, that I don't have to train, that puts the weights back in the right orders on the right racks and wipes their machines off. And you want them to be a certain way, but why do you want them to be that way? What outcome are you looking for? I want that so I don't have to spend as much time cleaning up my gym and resorting weights and putting them on the right racks and making sure all the dumbbells are back in place, and I don't have sweat all over all the machines and the next clients are coming in and complaining because the machines are all soaking wet and nasty. Like, that's why you want a good onboarding process, right? You might have other reasons as well. That's potentially one of them. If I was running a gym, that's one of the outcomes
Yeah.
that I would want.
Mate, we can
I mean,
all relate. And you know what? If you guys have been writing these down, go back and rewind it, because that's solid. That is like gold. Start with outcomes first. Like, why do you even want to do this thing in the first place? Like, and then go in from inputs, processes, and then the outputs.
yeah. And so the reason that we do all of that is because they're all related. If you're not getting the outcomes that you want, and that's where the metrics come in, right? So you put metrics or measurements around the outcomes. How many gym members do I have that are coming out that are just great gym members and they're doing all the things I asked them to do in the onboarding process, and they're not getting lost, they're not having to come and ask me tons of questions? You could put some metrics around that, right? As far as, like, maybe you survey them 6 months later and just ask them a couple of questions, see what they remember, see what they don't remember. You could do things like, how many times do our employees have to go out and wipe down machines because they're nasty? How many times do we have to go out and reset all the dumbbells because they're all in the wrong spots? You think about,
Mm.
what outcomes do you want out of onboarding your memberships, and then identify a couple of metrics that show you whether or not you're getting the outcomes that you said you wanted.
Well, I could think of one as well, is injury, because it's a health and safety thing. If it's slippery, sweaty, or dumbbells over the place, if people are tripping over, like, you don't want that. So it can,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
That'd be another good one. Yeah, you could look at injury if that's and you would, when you define your outcome, that's part of why you would say, I want a great onboarding process because I want to reduce injuries, or I want to limit injuries. So that would be one of the outcomes that you would define for your onboarding process.
That's great. Mate, this has been awesome. Now, what else have you got? Any more juicy gold nuggets for us on the topic of optimizing your business for outcomes?
Well, and so keeping on that thread, the reason that I explain those different pieces, inputs, process, outputs, and outcomes, is they're all related to each other, right? And so you think about, if you're not getting the outputs or the outcomes that you want, take a step back and look, are you getting the right outputs? Maybe you're missing an output. If you're getting the right outputs, start looking at your process. How am I delivering those outputs? Am I doing too much? Am I doing not enough? You can start to optimize what it is you're doing by looking at the different pieces. And ultimately, the outcomes that you get are affected by the inputs that you put into it. Okay. So you think about, I have this grand vision of this super onboarding process, and all of my clients are going to be super educated on gym policies and super safety conscious. If you're not getting that, ultimately you're going to trace it back to, what am I putting in? Maybe I'm not giving them the right information so that they never know. Maybe I'm not training them in the right way. It's your inputs that ultimately create those outputs and outcomes. And so you want to trace back through that and really start looking at, okay, maybe I'm getting the wrong kind of clients. Maybe I need like some type of IQ test or something. Maybe I'm giving them the wrong information. Maybe I'm giving them too little information, right? If part of if your onboarding process doesn't show them where to where to take a shower, and everybody stinks in the gym. Like, I mean, that could be just, you're not giving them the right information. Like, show them where the showers are. And so it's, if you want different outcomes, you have to put in different inputs ultimately.
I
Does that
like
make sense?
that. And that sounds like that would be a constant evolutionary process. Like it's like, here's like what we do with again, with the fitness clients. Here's what we did. Here's the outcome. Is it what we wanted? Cool. Let's test and tweak and see if we go again and just keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Another great kind of parallel there. You think about if you had a client and they've been working out and eating whatever you told them to, and it's been 2 weeks, and their body hasn't changed, their waist is the same size, they're the same weight. You're not just going to keep doing the same thing. You're going to look at your inputs, right? Okay, well, maybe we're not exercising enough. Maybe we're doing the wrong kinds of exercise. Maybe our nutrition is off. Those are all the inputs that go into making a fit person, right? And so if you're not getting the outcomes that you want, you're going to go back to those inputs and say, okay, is the nutrition not right? Is the rest not right? Is the exercise not right? And that's where you're going to make those adjustments, send them back through the process again, and see how that changes your outcomes. The
Mm.
exact same thing you should be doing with your business.
Love it. And obviously, there's just multiple points of where we do this in the business, but the overarching sort of strategy is exactly the same. As you said, start with the outcome, then look at your inputs, process, and then outputs for every part, whether it's sales, retention, um, team development, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Mate, this has been so good. And we'll get towards like wrapping this up, but I want everybody to know we're going to bring Brian on again for part 2 of this, where we're actually going to be talking about how to find, how to hire, how to train, and how to keep the right staff for your gym. Because that's a big question that's on a lot of people's mind. Where do I find them? How do I keep them? How do I stop them from running way up the street and opening up their own thing and stealing all my clients? Like, so this is going to be really interesting. But I just wanted to drop that little nugget there before we wrap this up. But Brian, is there anything that we spoke about before this to round out what you've spoke about? Is there anything else that
Uh,
they need to know?
I think everybody's got enough information to get started. I mean, if we just summarize really quickly,
Yeah.
Start thinking about your business differently. Start thinking about your gym differently. Define the core activities that you're doing, and start thinking about your business in those pieces. For each of those core activities, define the outcomes that you want from those individual activities, and then make sure they align across the board. So you shouldn't have big gaps. If again, thinking about a sales cycle, if you've got, I want to make millions of sales, but you don't have anything to bring in traffic, then you've got a gap there that you need to fill. So think about your core activities, what those outcomes are, and do you have any gaps anywhere? And then from there, start thinking about each core activity on its own. Think about, okay, what are my inputs, what's my process, what are my outputs, and how is that helping me achieve the outcome that I want from this piece of my business? The other thing I would add is, don't try and do it all at once. This is a mistake I see people make quite a
Yeah,
bit,
because
where
I
they're
could
like,
imagine people listening to this be like, "Whoa, this is amazing, but where do I start?" Like,
yeah, and I've seen people where they sit down, they define 50 different pieces to their business, and they try and fix them all at the same time. And I will tell you, I've never seen that work in 20 years. Never seen it work. So really, you've got to start honing in on what is the most broken, or where do you see the most benefit, the most potential. So if you're really having difficulty retaining your gym members, I would start there, and start thinking about, okay, why do I want, again, define your outcomes first. Why do I want to retain my gym members? Obviously, part of that is
profitable
I
business.
need money.
Yeah.
Uh, there might be some other reasons that you add in there as well, right? You're trying to build to a certain level, or you need a certain number of gym members to start up a side business that, on nutrition or something like that. There's not one right answer, is what I'm trying to say. There could be multiple reasons that you want that, but to define those outcomes, and then start looking at, well, what am I doing? What am I starting with? And what am I processing to get to those outcomes? And stay on that until you've made some improvement and you've actually improved things and you see better numbers. Then you can step back and look at your whole business again and say, okay, here's my 50 pieces. Which one is the next most broken, or which one is not delivering more than the rest? And then you go focus on that one piece and really focus on one piece at a time. Don't try and fix even 2 or 3 or 4 pieces at a time. Focus on one thing, make some improvements. You don't have to make all the improvements, but improve it enough so that it's now not the worst thing in your business. And then
Yeah, I like that.
figure out what's next. Okay, now that I've improved this one thing, what now is the next worst part of my business? And then go do that one and do it the same way. Improve it enough so that it's not the worst thing in your business anymore, and then figure out what's next.
I love that, because I think the perfectionist could come out in people as well, where they're like, okay, we're improving, but let's keep going. And then they don't shift off that one thing and they probably stay on it for too long.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's, yeah, I see that a lot as well, where somebody just starts grinding on one thing and they don't, we can keep on our example of onboarding new gym members, and they say, okay, this is the worst part of my business. And they start working on it and they make some improvements and now it's good enough, but then they just stay on it and stay on it because it's not 100% and it's not perfect. Meanwhile, like, their leads are drying up because they're not doing their leads properly, because they're so focused on, I got to improve my retention or my onboarding, or they get so focused on that one piece that
Then they got no clients to onboard.
right. Yeah. And then they're standing around going, I got this perfect onboarding process now, but nobody's coming in. So yeah, you have to be able to say, okay, I made some improvements and this is good enough. Let me move on to the next thing.
Mate, Brian, that has been amazing. Thank you so much. Like, that was a perfect summary. And as I said, we're going to get him on for part 2 somewhere very soon, because this is, I think, I talk a lot about the marketing and the sales stuff, but I think this is pulling out and looking at your business as as the business owner as well. I think this is sensational to hear from someone that's worked with like the big names like Amazon, Microsoft. That should say it. That should say enough for you right there. And then before we wrap this up, though, I always do like to do a rapid fire round of last couple of questions.
Sure.
A bit of fun as well. So timer starts now. There is no timer. There's no time. We're just going to punch these out real quick. Number 1, what's something you can't live without?
I'll give 2 answers. One is Sappy. It's my wife. We've been married 22 years, 23 years almost. She makes a lot of this possible. The other thing is my mobile phone. I work a lot on my mobile phone. I mean, I've written like 2,000 word articles on my mobile phone. Without it, I would not be able to do what I do.
I think a lot of us.
Yeah.
Favorite quote?
Favorite quote. Yeah, this might sound a little sappy too, but honestly, it's from the movie Titanic. And Caledon Hockley on the boat, when he's having dinner with everybody after Jack saved his wife, he said to Jack, he said, "Real men make their own luck."
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
That's the favorite. Yeah.
Wow. It's going to make me watch Titanic again. My wife will love you. She'll thank you for that one.
It's at the beginning, so you can turn it off early.
I'm just doing a bit of market research, babe.
Yeah.
What book are you reading at the moment, or what's your all-time favorite book?
So right now I am reading The Lean Startup. And it is one of my favorite books. I try and read it once a year. So I've read it a few times.
That's on my list. I think I've bought it. I just haven't cracked it open with the, when you do the one-click purchases on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's there.
I think one of the best business books. Everybody should read it. It really, I mean, just the summary of it. The lean startup. It's a concept of the most important thing that you should be building is really the smallest thing you can build. So it's about products, right? So when you think about building products, you should be building the smallest product that you can get in front of customers to start getting feedback. Like that is the most important thing, is understanding your marketplace. When you think about companies building products, a lot of times they want to shove all the features in. They want to make it do all the things. It's got to be, I mean, talking about perfectionism, right? It's got to be this perfect thing. And his argument is no. What's more valuable than building that perfect product is really building something that's functional, that can start getting feedback from customers so that you can refine what it is you're building and build a better product. So
I think a great example there is the iPhone. When it came out each year, they're refining it, aren't they? They didn't wait 20 years to make the perfect iPhone.
yeah, that's a good example. There's a lot of technology now that's like that. And the book is really, I think, written from a tech perspective, but again, it's applicable to any business. Like, you get past a couple of the tech words, and it's very applicable to any business. It's this idea of you have what's called a minimum viable product, which what is the
Yeah,
smallest thing I can build that will give value to my customers, where I can start engaging them and getting feedback on what other features do they need or want.
that's awesome. The lean startup. Cool. What's something that not a lot of people know about you?
Um, Something not a lot of people know about me. I am a plant nerd.
Ooh,
So
horticulturalist.
yeah, something like that. So living in Seattle, our weather here, it's fairly cold in the winters. We don't get a lot of snow, but it'll be like 0 to 5 C, below like 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the winter, lots of rain and clouds in the winter. I love the Caribbean. Like, for me, the tropical areas of Central America and the Caribbean are wonderful. So I actually, inside my house where I can keep them alive, I've got about 20 different tropical plants,
Wow,
um,
that's cool.
of all different kinds. And in my yard, I have, there are certain banana plants that can handle cold winters. They don't produce fruit to eat, but they have the same look as banana plants you'd find in the Caribbean. So I've got like banana plants in my yard. I've got palm trees, all kinds of funky stuff that you don't usually see anywhere near where I live. So,
That's
um,
great. You're
yeah,
transporting the Caribbean to you.
trying.
What's your favorite all-time TV series?
Um, Naked and Afraid, probably.
Ooh, Naked and Afraid, like most people would be when they're naked.
Yeah.
And like, people listen to this, they're like, you know what, this is awesome, love it. I want to know more about this Brian guy. Where do they go?
www.optimizeforoutcomes.com.
Optimize, and that's for my Australian friends. Optimize with a Z or a Z, right?
With a Z, yes.
Yeah, not an S. Brian, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been amazing. I can't wait for part 2, where we dive into the next part about hiring and getting the right people and having like a superstar team. And for everyone listening in, again, if you want somebody to handle your marketing for you, go on over to iwantgymleads.com. You can go over there, check out the little video I recorded for you. And if you like what you see, schedule a time to have a chat with me where we can talk about doing all your marketing for you. But anyways, Brian, thank you so much, man. And everyone, love you all. See you soon.
Thanks, sir. Have a good one.